Hey, sweet friends, I am Rachel. This is Rock City Cookies, and you have landed yourself on a new member exclusive video. This video is going to be just a little bit different than some of the videos I have done in the past. And the reason for that is because this week's tutorial video on YouTube, the theme of it is just one design. So that design will be on the free content on YouTube. But I didn't want to take away weekly content from you guys, some exclusive content for y'all. So I decided to do something a little fun this week. I looked back through some of my saved videos that I have on my phone from super creative creators that shared really exciting or fun or innovative tips or techniques that they are currently using that I thought you would really love to see as well. Because even though I do like to give y'all fresh and new content, I can't do it all and I don't know it all, that's for sure. But when I see inspiring works from other people, I can share that with you just in case you didn't see it yourself. Because let's be honest, we're busy and we don't have time to consume all the content in the world. So we're going to name this video today Creative Creators. And together we are going to learn some really cool, fun, creative techniques that we all can use in our own businesses. So let's get going. I am going to warn you, almost all of these videos, with the exception of one, was just music playing on top of the video. And because all of that music is copyrighted, I just reduced the volume and I'm just going to talk over what they're doing in the video since they weren't talking anyway. I'm also going to pause it in various places to kind of talk through some of what they're doing in the video. So this creator did a technique that is very well known in the cookie industry. It is called the dipping technique. It is where you take your cookie and you actually dip it into a bowl of icing instead of flooding it with a piping bag. Some people love this technique. This is all they do. Some people hate it. I kind of lean on the side of hating it. And the reason for that is because for me, it doesn't feel any faster because I have to spend so much time popping air bubbles. However, I think this cute design is the exception I would make because these cookies looked so cute and I really bet that they were very fast to pump out. And you could do them for a whole lot of holidays, but especially this video is coming to you on Valentine's Day. So I really thought this was a perfect way to kick off this video of tips and tricks from really creative creators by showing you a technique that you can file away for next year or for other holidays throughout the year. So she just took a bowl of white flood icing, that's thin icing. Now this is going to be thinner icing than what you might use in a piping bag, but it's going to be pretty loose icing. And then she took a piping bag of red icing and a piping bag of pink icing, the same thin flood consistency. And then she kind of swirled randomly those two colors all into the white icing. With her scribe tool, she mixes up that little bowl of icing to make the colors blend together a little bit more. And then she dips her cookie down into the icing and then she slowly will pull it up and let some of that excess icing drip off. And then carefully she'll flip it over and here is her end result. Be prepared. You will have a lot of air bubbles. To help with this, like banging your bowl of icing on the table to try to get those air bubbles to rise up. And then in the surface of your bowl of icing, if you want to pop some of the air bubbles that you see before you dip your cookies, that helps a lot. Otherwise, just be prepared. You might have to pop a few icing bubbles here and there on your cookie. But as you can see, if you dip it right, your whole surface of your cookie is completely flooded without outlining, without a piping bag. So you can see why people really love this technique, but look how stunning this bowl of dipped heart cookies is. It's really gorgeous, really makes a powerful impact. Loved the final product. So I just wanted to put this in front of you. If you've never seen it before, definitely consider this for some future designs. I'm going to add it to my list. When I do, I'll record it and let you know how it goes. One hot tip real fast before we move on to the next video. I did want to mention that if you are doing this dipping technique where you're kind of marbling your colors together, you will have to keep adding those colors back onto the top of your icing just as you continue to dip. Those kind of blend together a little more than maybe what you would like. So you might need to add some more white back into it. You might need to add some more red or some pink, just depending on what look you're looking for and what's kind of happening with your icing as you're dipping. But you should be able to get several marbled cookies without having to continue to add colors. So I'm just letting you know, every once in a while, you might have to add back some more white. You have to add back some more reds, add back some more pink to kind of keep that look all the way throughout however many you're dipping. But all in all, it's a really cute and fabulous technique. Okay, let's move on to the next video. Okay, this tip by The Domestic Cookie. By the way, fabulous account. Go follow her. I'm almost embarrassed that I did not know this. In the 5 years that I have been making cookies, I did not know this was a thing. So she's showing us how to open a can of gel food coloring without getting your hands messy. This is the vein of my existence, opening these stupid liquid gel caps on these coloring tubes. They're so messy. I can never, ever, ever do it without getting it all over my hands. It doesn't matter if I use a knife, a toothpick, nothing. I'm always going to make a huge mess and then my hands are stained for the rest of the day. But she shows us that the lid on the gel caps, you can just take the top part of the lid and use that to puncture into the like aluminum foil part, the seal of your cookie, not of your cookie, the seal of your food gel color. I saw this video last week and I tried it on my cookies last week. 5 years, y'all. 5 years. I have dealt with the nightmare of having to open a new gel food coloring. This one video changed my life. Changed my life. Y'all, it works like a dream. You puncture in to your thing, you put the lid back on, and the gel food coloring comes out of it just as if there were no seal at all. If you already knew this, then I'm sure that you are probably thinking, how could I have not known this for 5 years? But I did not know this, and this is revolutionary to me. And so if you are not opening your food coloring like this, please do. It will change your world. It will change your world. And it does work on any brand. I tried it on a couple different brands that I have of food gel coloring just to see if it worked. I don't have I don't have this particular one that she's showing in the video. I have 2 totally different brands. And yes, it worked perfectly on both of my other brands. I'm telling you, life changing. All right, let's move on. Okay, this one is one that is a very specific technique that you probably won't use very often, but I feel like if you had a need for it, it would be really, really cute on so many various themes. But she's going to show us how to make bear paw prints in her cookie, in her royal icing, without having to pipe anything other than just flooding her cookie. Okay, so we see that she floods the cookie and she lets it dry just for a little bit. I'm assuming maybe about 20 minutes or so, just long enough for it to crisp over. And she may not even put it in front of a fan. I would imagine if you put it in front of a fan to even reduce your time even more, she may have just let it sit out on her table for about 20 minutes until she was ready to come back to it. And then she shows that she's using 3 different sizes of paintbrushes, and she just barely presses into that wet flood that has dried over just a little bit with those 3 sizes of paintbrushes. And she's just using the back of them. Now, that little bitty one that she uses to indent into her cookie for the claw part, I don't actually have anything that looks like that. I imagine if you have some fondant tools, it's just a fondant tool, or you could find a small something to be able to still achieve that effect. So I'm going to look, and if I find anything that I think would work for that, I'll put it in the description box below and I'll link it. But I really thought this was so genius. And my goodness, look how cute it is. It's really, really adorable. She said that you could use it for like little baby feet, which absolutely you could. But I was also thinking like dinosaur tracks. That would be really fun to use for dinosaur tracks as well. And I do have a design that I have done in dinosaur sets that I do the dinosaur footprints through mud. And so I thought that would be a really cute design for that as well. So there you go. Dinosaur prints, dog prints, bear prints, cat prints, little baby feet. There's just so many ways you could use this technique. I thought it was really, really creative. I have not seen anything like this before, so I wanted to share. And by the way, this Sherlock Holmes set that she made this for, so cute, adorable. All right, this design is from Yuzu Yummies, and I have followed her for a while, and she has really creative use of texture in a lot of her sets. And she's just a really, really nice, sweet human being. If you ever have had any interaction with her, she's just so she's like a cheerleader for all. She's just really, really a great human. So I really enjoy following her. So you should too if you have not. Now she's making a letterboard cookie here, which I have never added to any of my sets because the thought of having to go in and do each individual row of icing and let them dry and pray that you have no craters and just the amount of time all of that takes is just like no fun. Like nothing in that makes me want to do that. But letterboard cookies are really, really cute and I love them in designs. I just have not been patient enough or brave enough to try them myself. So her take on doing it and doing it quickly is fantastic. So creative. So she's using a cookie comb here. I will link one in the description box below. There's actually a couple sides here that I'm going to pause it so you can see. There are a couple of different blades. It's a 3-sided cookie comb. And so she's using the indented one that's the larger size because her cookie's pretty big. But I imagine that if you were doing a smaller version of a letterboard, you could do the even smaller side that you see here and it would have the same effect. You just might not need as much icing as what she's showing here that she used for her base of this cookie. This is a thicker icing that she put down on her cookie. Now it does show her piping out this icing with a piping bag, but I'm sure that she has the excess. She's putting it into a bowl. I would imagine that she's going to reuse the excess that she takes off in some way, but maybe she's not. But me personally, if I was putting this much icing down on my cookie, I probably would do so with a spoon or a spatula and just have the bowl sitting next to me as I worked through these designs so that I wasn't sitting there wasting icing or like rebagging icing over and over again just to pipe out this like blob of icing onto your cookie. So after she has her icing on her cookie, she's taking that side of the cookie comb and then she's just combing through that icing with the cookie comb, removing the excess both off of the comb and around the edges of her cookie with a scraper, an icing scraper. That's probably what I would use to get out the extra, but you could use a credit card, just anything that has a sharp edge that's just easy to remove the icing with, palette knife, just really anything. And then she adds a wood frame to her cookie. And so she's doing that with thicker icing. She's kind of scrunching up her icing with her scribe tool. And then she's adding a little bit of brown so it makes it look more like wood. She is using big sprinkles to add for beads along the top of it and then a tassel. And then she wrote her words on it. Obviously, she made this one for Valentine's Day. Again, if you're not doing a letterboard cookie, you may never use that technique, but I do think it's really fun to kind of think through ways that you could use a technique like that. I also think like doing a basket of some sort, maybe doing a pool noodle, like there's a lot of different ways that you could use that technique. A sleeping bag even, or quilting or something along those lines. There's a lot of really creative ways that you could use a cookie comb. I just have never ever in a million years thought of doing that, which is why I love our community because there is just so much to learn from one another and it's exciting to me to see people do things in such creative ways. All right, so there you go. That's how you make a letterboard cookie with a cookie comb. Let's move on to how to make a wood grain look on your cookies. Super easy. Now, in my personal past, I typically use a fan brush and I use gel food coloring and I use that fan brush to go over my brown on my cookies and it kind of gives that wood grain look as well. But I really, really love how this type of wood grain technique looks. And I really don't think it's that complicated. I think once you do it once, I think the first time you do it, you might be a little intimidated to make sure that you're doing it correctly. But I think once you do it once, it's going to be pretty easy. And then as soon as your cookie is flooded, you're done with that wood grain technique. Whereas when I have to do a wood grain technique, I have to let my cookie, my base of it dry, and then I have to come back. I have to use alcohol, a high grain alcohol, mix it with my food gel coloring so that it's really thin out. I dip my fan paintbrush into it and then I scrape that brush across the top of my dry cookie. And so that's just a lot of extra steps. With this, yeah, there are a few extra steps to begin with, but then once your cookie is flooded, you have that really stunning wood grain look without having to do any more work. So I really love that. And I really think that you should try it. And I'm going to try it too the next time I need a wood grain look. Okay, so she is just coloring her flood, her base of her icing. She's just getting the right brown color first. And she's getting the right consistency. Now, as far as consistency goes, I could tell her flood is a little bit thinner than what I typically do. But for this technique, I would imagine that you would want your flood more on the thin side because you want all of that icing to really blend together. You'll see in just a second, it really needs to blend together seamlessly. You don't need to be having to do a lot of extra work to get your icing to smooth out. So I imagine that's why it's important to have a little bit of a thinner flood for this technique. So she gets her base icing exactly how she wants it, whatever brown color she's looking for. And then she's going to take a drop. I think it's just one drop, but you might need 1 or 2 drops. And she's just going to barely mix in a darker brown gel color into her icing, just a little bit to make it streaky. She's not coloring the whole thing. She's just barely mixing it. And then she's going to take an icing bag and a paintbrush and just the dark brown food gel color. And she's going to just, with that paintbrush and that gel color, not watered down or anything, she's going to line the bag with that gel color. And then she's going to pour her icing into the piping bag. And so as you can see, it almost looks like hot fudge down the side of her bag. But then she's just going to start the technique of just doing up and down and flooding your cookie, taking your time. To me, the hole in her bag looks pretty small. So if you use piping tips, I would use probably a size 2 here. If you cut your bags like me, you're going to want to start with a smaller hole just to make sure that you're really getting that wood grain look that you're looking for, that you're hoping to achieve. And you can see she kind of goes up and down in a little bit of a random way, and I'm sure that really helps with the look of the wood grain. And she does some circles here and there to look like knots in wood, and she kind of goes up and down, and so it's just kind of an interesting pattern that she does her cookie in, but it really, really looks stunning in the end product. I love the look of that wood grain. Fantastic job by Sweet Creations by Brie. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I love it. Can't wait to do it. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you saw some new things this video that you have maybe never seen before, some things that might get you excited to do cookies, or some things that you're excited to add to your sets that you have coming up. Next week, I will be back with a full tutorial video for you guys for members only. What is up next is the bee theme, and this is my biggest seller. I have sold this particular design more times than I've sold any other design, and it's quite a lot. So I'm excited to share with y'all the full tutorial video for that. So that's going to be members only. I will release one design on YouTube for free, but the rest of the tutorial will be for you guys only. But join me on this Friday as I show you how I made the star logo cookie for American Girl cookies. But I really think it's a great patriotic theme as well. So for the 4th of July, Memorial Day, Veterans Day. So join me on Friday as I show you how I made those. I'll see you next week for the bee theme. And thank you so much for watching, sweet friends. Have a great one. Bye-bye.